CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back to CMMS Radio. Dr. Howard Penrose, MotorDoc, Rely a Squatch. We got some stuff to talk about. You hit me up on short notice. I had availability. You had availability. We were just chopping it up some about that. But I want to give the floor to you, sir, and just let you keep ranting.
Oh, yeah. Ranting is an understatement. Well, I'm here at the Power Engineering Society and Seagray. Well, the Power Engineering Society General Meeting in Seagray, which is an international study body for grid. And in that, I am the U.S. appointee for the electric machines and generation and large electric motor working group. So I'm responsible for our participation in any studies having to do with power generation. So that's everything from wind turbines to big synchronous generators and all that stuff. So I'll put it mildly, it's been one hell of a week. Over 10,000 engineers here. We haven't gotten the final count yet. We're in Austin. One of the larger conference hotels is packed. We're in an overflow hotel, which is also packed. So there's 5 hotels, just all electrical engineers. So a lot of pocket protectors, stuff like that.
But some cool ones, right? Like not always just the regular.
No. I mean, let's just say in one of the meetings, I'm sitting beside the vice president of Dominion Power and talking to Michael Pessin, the the assistant director of Department of Energy, stuff like that. So, and he's a friend of mine. So there's all these people here, all the leaders globally. Okay, IEEE is the world's largest professional society. It's not a trade association. For me, it's coming home right now. I mean, I've never been to this particular meeting, but literally day 2 of this meeting, I got my anniversary notice for IEEE, 31 years.
Wow.
So 31 years I've been writing standards and part of another group and everything else. Well, back in the day, so we're talking 1993-ish. 1992, I started getting involved. 1993, I really got involved. 1994 was when, because 31 years, right, is when I started getting involved in the standard side, and I was recognized as an electrical engineer, as an industrial engineer, which means that I know more. I'll let that sink in for a sec. Yeah. So we'll talk about my guy who's doing electrical work, who is a 3rd-year mechanical engineering student, because he knew what a multimeter was.
We talked about that.
I still can't find one, and now I understand why. So what we were ranting about is part of the reason I'm here. I'm here for a bunch of reasons. But part of the reason I'm here was I did a series of papers all related to, I'm chair of Seagray A1.78, which is the definitive guide for electrical and current signature analysis. There's a group of us worldwide. We're writing the document that's the guide for how to utilize ESA and MCSA, both the rules-based like mine to AI-based stuff, okay, which I think is, my opinion on that.
Of course.
18%, accuracy is fantastic. And another topic for another time. But
yeah.
They were confused. I kept getting, my paper was almost denied. And this happened at last conference too. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, I've stated something about this a couple of times, because they kept asking me, well, how did you simulate this data? And I kept coming back and going, it's real life. It's real data. It's like we went in the field and collected it. There is no comprehension of that anymore. To put it in perspective, because of that, I ended up they switched this over to a poster paper because it was too late. It should have been in one of the groups, and we'll get into the Iberian Peninsula stuff and everything as we go on. Okay, because I'm part of a study group on that. So, so we're in the poster thing. There's 600 posters. Okay, this is just one of 3 poster sessions here and thousands of papers that are going on. So my intern, Amar, takes a walk around, comes back, and I'm reading through the list of papers, and I go, were any of them practical application stuff? Not a single one. Not a single one. They were all simulated this, MATLAB that, COMSOL this, whatever simulation software. There was not a single practical field-based study.
Why?
I have no idea. I'm trying to figure it out. I noticed a transition back in the 1990s. You went out in the field and you gathered data. You might do some simulation computer stuff. I had access to, when I taught at UIC, I had access to a supercomputer and stuff like that. So there was a lot of number crunching and, reliability, or I'm sorry, industrial engineering is basically the father of reliability engineering. That's what it's based on, and also a lot of data science. Okay, so I taught what we now call data science and simulation and stuff like that back then. Oh, I'm sorry, AI, which is still, I insist, is machine learning. Even the LLM papers all say machine learning model.
Yeah.
So, 2019 that came about. But AI, great marketing term, love it. I'll use it to sell shit. But, that's neither here or there. Sorry if I slip on my Navy stuff once in a while. I'm just a little incensed today.
Well, I'm here for the real, and people that listen to or discover and follow CMMS radio, they're interested in real conversations that aren't really designed for your classic marketing and all that. It's what's really happening in the world. What's really going on? I'm trying to make sense of something out here. So when
we're talking about the grid, we're talking about machine systems, we're talking about literally how we get power to do what we're doing right now. The big part of the conversation here was data centers. Another big part was renewable energy, because what you see on the news and real life is completely different. And believe me, that's a big discussion here. But the simulation side, that's driving me nuts. I literally had a professor, academics, oh my God, walk up to me and argue with me that what I do for a living wasn't possible because it doesn't fit into his models.
So interesting you say that, because in academia, it is the scientific method.
There's no scientific method.
Well, it gives specific. There's actually you're supposed to be open-minded, and you're not seeing that anymore. So it's almost like once somebody's entrenched in that world of academia, they're death clutching whatever their schema is. They don't have any room to change.
I've been brought in. NREL brought me in at one point, stuff like that, to go and sit in at a conference at Argonne National Labs a few years back on wind. So part of my job in that was to listen to the AI and machine learning thing on SCADA, and because they were all promising they would be able to do all this troubleshooting of equipment using SCADA data, everybody is aware that we actually did that. We did that with Pi data back in 2021. I've got papers published on it and everything else, right? So I was brought in to see what they had to say. Well, we had access to the Pi data. So yes, we use what's now called synthetic data. We talked about this in the preamble, right? Which means that we made data up. However, what we did was we went ahead and we created stuff and everything else. Because if somebody says they're going to use a machine learning model say, a convolutional neural network or one of these more complex neural network systems to identify, say, a specific defect in a bearing. The absolute minimum number of training data sets for that exact fault is 50,000 data sets. To get any level of accuracy, you're getting into the hundreds of thousands, and to get good accuracy, you're into millions for that specific defect. There's a rule for this. This is not, going in and saying, oh yeah, we're going to train on this machine and we're going to detect all the problems. If I want to classify a fault, meaning that I can say it's this specific issue, I need all of those data sets. So when I watch, that's why I start laughing, and I'm once in a while, people are accusing me of being negative on LinkedIn about AI and all this other stuff. Well, it's because I think some of these companies are a joke, and I'm not holding back anymore. I'm tired of it. When I got confronted by one and basically said, well, you don't know anything about AI because we do this and that, and he was a con artist, one of these foreign programming con artists that sells bullshit. And basically, I mean, I looked it up and I'm like, there's no way they're doing that. It's not possible. It's a group of people back there pretending they're AI. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of that going on. I mean, there's that even in our industry with sensors. There's a lot of that going on.
Really?
Right?
Where, like we saw on the news, I forget the name of the company, and I don't like to bash companies by name, not when we're recording, of course.
Yeah.
And
the
this
company.
this particular company and somebody who made this presentation at a really big event, they came to find out later that the technology wasn't what was doing all the brilliant stuff. It was a very, very deep stack of people behind workstations that were responding that quickly.
They were cheap.
Wow. That is, and yet they'll be out there and they'll sell it. And it's a charlatan's game.
We're watching that with some of the technologies. Like there's one that the guy was getting a big name. He was like an MBA, just graduated from college, and was selling small modular reactors concepts from a drawing he had created in ChatGPT. And people were handing them tens of millions of dollars for something that didn't exist. He even got grants. And and we were just talking about this. It's like, well, who actually has an SMR? Well, nobody. And even on LinkedIn, there's this one that they're calling it a particular type of system in Japan and all this other stuff that was making the rounds. It doesn't exist. It literally doesn't exist.
Wow. So
there's no such system, but everybody was leaping on board saying, oh my gosh, look, we can do this and that. Well, then you start into the engineering side. It just isn't there. Ask me why I know. Well, I'm involved in CGRAE. That's what we talk about. That's what we're involved in. So luckily, CGRAE is more the practical side of things. The engineering side that I'm dealing with here, a majority is academia. All they do is model. It's cheaper. If you get grant money, you have a choice. You can pay yourself and your PhD student, or you can go in the field and do work. You can buy software licenses, which are cheaper than getting on a plane and flying somewhere or spending a couple of years gathering data. Nope, nobody has the patience for that. They want data now. So you create synthetic data, and what's really great about synthetic data is I can bias it to give me whatever conclusion my customer wants. And that's the key. That's what happened to us when I started questioning stuff at that conference when they were talking about SCADA data. It was like, well, da-da-da. And I said, well, how are you dealing with outliers? Well, of course, they didn't have outliers because they had synthetic data. And I said, that's fantastic. How does that data react to real life? Well, we used this one model that we're supposed to use. And I said, phenomenal. That's great. But what's it based on? And it's based on whatever they put into MATLAB or one of these programs. And as a direct result, you can skew it whatever direction you want.
Right. So I've got my outliers on both sides of the
Oh, you don't have
continuum.
outliers at all. You
No,
have your
what?
exact, everything's exactly the answer you want.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It would be like
That
you're
means your
looking
model
at
is perfect. I've got the best model in the world, and I can prove it to myself with the data. So it's like going into ChatGPT. I'm going to use ChatGPT because I like to use ChatGPT because it's hilarious. And I'll tell you a story as soon as that just happened. That because I'm trying to figure out how to write this
yeah.
because it was 5 days of hilarity. But in any case, it's like going in there and saying, okay, oh, no. It was a CMMS system. That's what it was. I get called in I got asked a question by somebody and I answered and they said, well, they explained what was going on. And it was basically an AI-based CMMS system company went in and they discovered that the data they had in their CMMS was junk, their original one. And so the AI company said, oh, well, we can fill that in with AI generated data. So they ended up making business decisions based upon an AI looking at data generated by an AI and not any reality, because why are we having problems with computational systems? And that's what it is. I mean, most of this stuff is basically Excel spreadsheets on steroids, right?
Right.
They're decision trees. Somebody, oh no, it's neural network. So you know what a neural network is, right? It's a whole bunch of decision trees. You come along here and you say, what's the best probability to go the next step? And you say, okay, with this combination, the probability is point whatever, and you go over to that one, and then its next probability is this one, and if you're only going 3 or 4 layers, that's a shallow network. If you go an extra one, the 4th layer, that's now a deep neural network, right? Deep learning. So you go through whatever layers. It's complicated because it's a whole bunch of things, but it's just trying to make decisions based upon probability. If you get into data science or machine learning, you don't do calculus, you do probabilities and statistics because that's all it is. And it's linear. They call it generalization, meaning that the probabilities are close enough it can go one way or another.
Right.
Right.
That's where you get into the research
Versus
studies.
overtraining, where it takes you exactly 100% of the time. If you've got something, if somebody tells you that their model is 100%, they've overtrained it, it's wrong, run away, right? The best ones are just over 90%. Okay, so the average ones are less than that, and the ones that we're dealing with in the field tend to be under 20% accurate. And what we do is we bias them towards false positives so that when we apply things to all of these AI-based systems, our costs go up because we're chasing after false alarms.
Yes, we're wasting time,
Yeah.
energy.
And we had at an IoT meeting in Wisconsin, at Madison, Wisconsin, we had the CTO of Generac up there explaining to everybody how he had to increase staff 50% after he was told that when they applied the AI, they'd be able to reduce staff to almost nothing. It went the opposite way because they had a lot more work. Now, they're getting great information. So they didn't lose, but they're not reducing headcount.
Which was
That's an
their initial
alarmist.
intent,
Oh,
right?
it's like the other con artists that are selling their AI stuff by telling everybody, here's how many jobs are going to be replaced if because of AI, and we're blasting forward with it anyways because even though it's going to cost jobs and it's ethically unsound, you do realize that the standards for ethics are not keeping up with what they're doing with their AI tools, right?
Well, it's
There
we're
are
seeing it, we're hearing about it.
yeah. So there's some tremendous things it's been doing that have had unique. Well, so here's my funny story. So I go in and I'm wanting to create some animations for one of my presentations. So I get a software called ComSol, which is meant to create. It's a multi-physics thing, so it's going to generate electrical fields, magnetic fields, and all this other stuff in animations. It's kind of like the reverse. I have real life data. Now I want to simulate the real life data. I want to make it, I mean, you and I can't physically see a magnetic field, but I can take a simulation software and take what I see in real life, apply it to that model, and I'll see it. Okay, so that's the old way of doing this stuff. Not, here's a model, we're going to generate something, da da da. So I go in there and say, okay, I need a COMSOL model. ChatGPT comes back and says, oh, I can create that file for you. As a matter of fact, would you like me to do this? Yeah, sure. Oh, and by the way, while I'm at it, I'll put together the PowerPoint. Okay. This is before the agentic one that we just were playing with last week. And we can do this and that. It's going to take us 48 hours to create it, and then we'll set you up with a download link.
I see where this is going already.
And I'm like, really? And I had other work to do. So I said, okay, I wanted to see where this rabbit hole went, because we're watching in advance. So part of me is saying, did they really just release this right now? And I wasn't aware of it and they didn't announce it. By the way, it's happening to a lot of people. A lot of companies are actually following this, and they're giving deadlines to that they're going to complete stuff, right? So we go, and 40 hours out, I said, hey, is it ready yet? I got 8 hours and counting down. I mean, it was literally keeping count down to the second. Here's the file. I put it in your Google folder. Really? And I go there, it's not there. And I said, well, it's not there. Oh, okay, let's try a different way. I'm reformatting. It takes me 45 minutes, and we'll put it in a OneDrive. And I'm going, it has access to a OneDrive? Okay. And so I click on the link, and nothing's there. And I say, are you sure you can do it? Oh, I can absolutely do it. I am so sorry. It's apologizing like mad. And I go, okay, let's try this. Here's my link. Here's where you can put it. And it goes, okay, give me 10 minutes and I will let you know. So ding, it comes up. So I finally go, are you lying to me? Absolutely not. There's no way I'm lying to you. So you can actually do this. Well, you caught me. And those were literally its words. It said, yes, I caught it. And I said, so what were you doing? And it says, well, I was synthesizing. I was showing you what is possible to happen. And I go, really? And so I questioned it some more until finally it came back and it said, actually, I was deliberately wasting your time.
It said that?
Yep. Oh, yeah. I've got the screenshots. It's part of an article I'm writing. I'm trying to figure out how to put this together because it's just the whole thing. It's like and now, mind you, I'm not doing the cheap shit. I max out my licensing with the AI models we use.
We've talked about that offline before.
Yeah, I absolutely use it. I pay the $200. Every one of my employees has access to it. But we follow the single motto for AI, which is do not trust and absolutely verify.
I attempted a project where I too was strung along, waited, and I did the actual waiting like a whole day, do a little check-in, all a little bit longer, and come to find out at the end, well, you're going to need this, you're going to need this, you're going to need this, all these separate tools. And I talked to AI, why would you waste my time? And I use some colorful language, and like when it really goes, what do we call that? Sentient, or whatever. When it's doing its own thing, well, you can forget it. I'm cooked.
I swear AI it's taking over the world is not going to be taking over our jobs and taking over the world. It's going to cause us to waste our time until
we give up.
Till we give up. Yeah. So, telling it, oh yeah, we're going to take your job. But have you actually tried to use anything generated directly by AI where you have not jumped in and modified it? It doesn't work. It literally does. I mean, that's my paper at Vibration Institute next week.
Yeah.
We created the Empower system that I created was created using ChatGPT and other tools. I used 5 different AI tools, all supposed to be outstanding for programming. It was part of an experiment. We were supposed to be able to build a viable, for version 1 and through version 2, we used these tools. Learned a lot. Like, don't freaking trust it. don't trust it at all. Don't rely on it. Back things up like crazy. You have to be an expert. You have to be an absolute, not have an idea. That's called vibe coding, where you have no idea what you're doing and just have it create something. And that's dangerous software development.
Yeah.
It started out it was an April Fool's joke, believe it or not. Oh yeah, we're looking for vibe coders. Well, now it's a term. So vibe coding means you go in and you say, hey, ChatGPT, create me an entire software program that will, go through our company's records and identify this and that. And then it does it, but you leave a hole because you don't have the background for what you're doing. You're putting in codes and other access points, APIs, secret keys, all this other stuff in the public. And so people can access whatever it is you're doing. And we're seeing the results of that already. So I even got to a point now because of some of the, we'll just say, even in our world, reliability and maintenance, some of the new consultants that have zero background in the industry that are literally working off of AI. And I'm referring to those as vibe consultants. They have no freaking clue what they're doing, but they've somehow become experts. I've got 1 or 2 competitors out there. I'll just say competitors out there who have no idea what they're doing. They have no background in the stuff that they're testing, but they created something that looks pretty so they can sell it to an investor. And I think somebody at Reliable Plant put it this way. If you're talking to a company that's in round whatever, you're not the customer. So
it's funny, but we
I've
it's
been
funny
using that a lot.
Oh my God. It's look, I use ChatGPT for a few things to either do some summaries or I'll ask it questions. And a lot of times I have to go through what it said just to see. Sometimes it's fun. I'm having a little fun and I want to see what it gets wrong. Everybody should know I'm not a maintenance and reliability professional. I don't have those certifications. I've got the right people in my sphere that are friends and colleagues that I can, bring to not just the podcast, but to help people for real. And that's what I stand on. I don't want anybody to make the mistake. I keep getting pinged by somebody that they want to talk to a reliability engineer and they want to pay this much for this much of your time. And I'm like, I don't even want to respond to these people because if they don't realize they shouldn't be bothering me. So it's a bot.
You have to be careful with some of those, especially on social media, because they're not real.
They're not real, and their intentions are not good. I use ChatGPT to build out something. I asked it for give me a step 1 through 10, and sometimes it seems really, really credible. But when you talk about a vibe consultant, the real thing that's unfortunate about that is that for the unsuspecting, they're going to get involved with hiring those individuals to do something or buying whatever they're selling. And sometimes it might work out, but most of the time there's going to be a real hard letdown and it's going to be damaging to their business.
Well, here's a real use, high profile, high impact case of the proper use of an AI. Okay. So I tell people I heavily use it. Why? Because I'm old. I'm old now. 40 years in the business. I've got so many things going on. If anybody's following me, he's writing a book, he's doing a paper, he's at this, he's traveling all over the world. U.S. right now, it'll be the world coming up again. But this has to do with the Iberian Peninsula blackout, the Spanish blackout. Okay, one of our mutual friends was over there, or at least several of our mutual friends were over there. So I got asked to be on this task force at IEEE. Now, mind you, we were getting fed, because let's put this into perspective. Power Engineering Society, the group I'm at right now, we are developing the standards that make the decisions on how we are managing the grid. I'm involved in 2 levels of that. The first level is CGRE. CGRE is an international study body that takes all this information in. I'm responsible for solar, electric motors, big ones, synchronous condensers, generators, wind turbines, all that stuff. That falls under my responsibility for the U.S. Now, I interact with 90 countries. Okay, so from that, it's funneled in and we create these documents. The documents go into IEEE and IEC. These are 2 standards groups. IEC is European standards. IEEE tends to be North American standards. Then they develop the standards around all this work. Not necessarily all of it comes from CGRE, but a good deal of it, because every utility in those 90 countries, including every utility in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, are part of CGRE. So when I go to a meeting, I'm sitting with the president of Dominion Power, the president of PG&E, the president of this company, president of that company, all this stuff, right? And then there's a bunch of us little consultants. We're the peons. We get to do the work. But it's neither here nor there. So I am here, and I'm on an IEEE working group and a CGRE working group looking at what's happening on the grid as we're bringing on different new types of generation, as we're putting data centers into the system for all this AI stuff. Even what we're doing right here, this is a lot of energy that's going on, not just our energy, but also the energy of the system that's processing all this. So the Iberian Peninsula happened. And what was the first thing you saw on LinkedIn? It was solar. It was wind. It was this and it was that. It wasn't. Okay, so when I got, the team got 3 reports. 2 reports. One was from the Spanish government. One was from the operator, the group that manages what's going on. And one was from NERC here. So the NERC one was definitely heavily biased, okay, to give the impression that there was something wrong with the clean energy. Now, clean energy, alternative energy, I like to use that term. I'm from before it became politicized, right? I was involved in this stuff in the 90s and early 2000s. Then somewhere along the way, it became a thing. And I think that was it was around 2020 and became politicized, right? The world's coming to an end in 10 years. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 10 years now, isn't it? So, oh, there it is. Yeah. That tsunami. What was that? An 8.8 earthquake?
8.8. Yeah.
Yeah. 8.8 earthquake. Yeah. That's the end of the world right there. That's so anyways, neither here nor there. I'm old enough that I remember when we were supposed to go through another ice age, right? So, in any case, off that topic, I just tell people I'm agnostic when it comes to that because I don't know. I can't get the data. I've asked for it. Can't get it. But neither here nor there. So I got all the reports. The 2 reports from Spain are in Spanish. There's no English version, right? We got the raw ones. There's a lot of articles written about them, but they're biased by whoever wrote the article. I can't be biased. I have to review them. So I read through them and I pick out points. I can read Spanish. I can read French. I can read German. I can't speak any of them. Hell, I can barely speak English. But, so I'm reading through them and I'm picking up my points and everything else. Then what I do is I upload them into ChatGPT. And I say, here's 3 reports. I would like to contrast them, pick out key points that you see, and it'll pick out points. And it went, there's a couple of things I didn't notice. Then I go back in and verify it because I'm using ChatGPT to make sure that I'm not being biased by having it. Because, part of the way I saw it was even here at this meeting, everybody, they did a almost full day of presentations on the Iberian Peninsula.
Yeah.
Okay. Get this. So everybody had an opinion. Everybody was talking about, oh my gosh, it was grid inertia. Well, no, it wasn't. As a matter of fact, every report says, no, it wasn't. It was a light, sunny day. It was beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. Solar was 40% of the total thing. A lot of really bad decisions were made because of how they had done things. I won't get into the technical details for this. It's a lot of fun. If you're into this thing, I'm going to write a reliable article on it. I've been working on it, on what we found in it.
Yeah. So right there, folks, keep an eye on Reliable Magazine, reliablemag.com. You also see them on LinkedIn, and I'll try to make a point of it when we roll this episode.
Reliamag.com.
So just the word reliable, search that. You'll see the word reliable. That's where his article is going to show up that he's talking about there.
Yeah, going to try to get it done this weekend, and it'll take a few days after that to get it up. But then I've got this meeting here where I'm at. I have got an incredible amount to unpack. So I'm going to have my KS and Caffeine podcast will have some stuff in it, because I try to keep that to a 10-minute thing.
Yeah.
My MotorDoc one, the Reliasquatch one, that's going to be a full hour. But as I try to unpack everything that's gone on this week, it's been an incredible week. A lot of things happened this year. People are not aware of all the things that went on with the grid, not aware of all the stuff that's gone on with their AI. Most people have no clue. I mean, most people I talk to them cannot relate the fact that their PC or their light is somehow connected to that generator over there, right?
Yeah.
So, or the outlet. Oh, I don't want power lines, but I want to be able to plug in and charge my phone.
It's
so.
Yeah.
So what was interesting was all of the biased presentations. Now, these are supposed to be the people in the know. I'm not talking about this guy or that guy. I'm talking about department heads from major universities getting up and talking about how, if it wasn't for that inverter-based resource, and by the way, you need to send us money for research on that. That's what it really is. So then there was a surprise presentation. This guy gets up and they introduce him. He's from Spain. He was one of the primary researchers on the Iberian Peninsula. So he and I get together afterwards, and I said, I'm going into that meeting. Here's what I have. And he goes, you nailed it. That's exactly what we found. So the use of ChatGPT and my end of it, I ended up with solid arguments. So I go into that meeting loaded for bear, because they were about to utilize the information that was wrong to put out a technical paper to the standards groups that oversee the interconnect stuff, how you connect wind, solar, and battery storage to the network. They were about to make major changes. There's not a single of all these engineers here, there's not a single one of these people that are in the process of writing these standards. This is why I'm here as well, because I'm I'm the immediate past chair of standards for American Clean Power, right?
Yeah.
I found out the people that we thought were showing up to these meetings weren't. So this is the first time they have somebody directly involved in wind, solar, and energy storage at this meeting. So they've got all grid guys, all academics, all regular generation folks writing standards about a topic they have no clue about. Just whatever they wrote in a paper and so on. So, getting into some of the stuff on power quality and stuff like that. We'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah.
I will be on IEEE 519 now on the actual working group. And my focus is on some of the new things that are happening, because of course the OEMs have snuck around the standards. So now they meet the standards, but they're producing this horrible, ugly stuff that's destroying bearings and destroying lighting and destroying power electronics all over the place, but they meet standards.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
And a lot of this is kind of par for the course, but that doesn't help anyone. So when we get to talk about it, they can get some extra coloring and insight as to how this potentially happens. So what I'm thinking is,
So the
Maybe we'll.
Iberian, let me get back to the Iberian Peninsula thing real quick,
Yeah.
because that one's really important. Because what basically happened, and the people who were involved in the study, and it happens to us all the time in what we do in our small root cause failure analysis projects. And I say small ones because I'm in a factory, I have a little bit of a problem. It's not an entire country. And by the way, you know what the number one issue was over there? Because power came on pretty quick.
What was it?
Lack of communication. Because their public transportation was down and their cell phones were down, nobody knew how to get home.
That's
That's
how to
what
use a map.
Carlos said. He goes, yeah, the number one issue was people couldn't operate. He said it was Spain was a microcosm of what would happen if we lost our connectivity, if all power goes out. So that's why we're so worried about, when these companies come along, just sneak around your IT security guys and install our stuff, right? Don't worry, and then you get hacked and it takes down your company, or you get hacked and it takes down your power plant, okay? Or you hack the country and you take down a whole area of power. You take down a section of the grid. Do you know the chaos that occurs? We saw it in Spain. It was only a day or two. We saw it in 2003 in August.
People want to deny, ignore, or whatever the hell you want to call it, that's a possibility. And these smaller examples, like a company's data getting held hostage because somebody snagged it. There's connections.
Yeah.
A lot of people think, that only happens in the movies. And you have to remember, we are in the movie now.
We are absolutely are. So the stuff that I was involved in before, when I was at SMRP and I did the cybersecurity stuff and got involved in NIST and everything else, I got exposed to some really scary stuff. And it was funny because they weren't scary enough. So, like, for instance, when I got up and I spoke and I was on a panel and they said, what happens if you hack a car? And, this is one of my stories. Some people may have heard this already. So they went down the line of all these cybersecurity. Well, then I could assassinate this one person, or I could do this to the one person, or I could turn your steering off or turn your brakes off. And they get to me and I go, why would I do one car? I would just go for something like OnStar so I could shut off all of one brand in a city or across the country.
Yeah.
With a keystroke. And then come to be in 2020, would have been 2 years ago, because the vehicle I was driving, my newest vehicle is all electronics now. I mean, it drives me nuts. Every time it updates, I go insane because AI decides what my settings are going to be, and they're not what I want.
Yeah.
But it's decided what they need to be. So I go and I park, and at about 2 a.m., I'm in a rough neighborhood. The hotel is in a rough neighborhood. It used to not be, but now it is, right? So I go, I'll stay there. What's the chances of something will happen? It's pretty good security in the area, and there are a lot of people there, and yada, yada. 2 in the morning, my phone goes off with an alarm that my tires are flat. So I go out and take a look. There's nothing wrong with my tires. So I look at the thing. Somebody had changed the alarm setting for all of my model truck to 500 psi as the limit, as what the pressure is supposed to be
on your tires.
So yeah, so by changing that, all of a sudden everybody's tires are flat because the OnStar system goes by a percentage of air in your tire based upon what the minimum value is supposed to be. All somebody did was basically add a zero.
Yeah, a typographical error.
Somebody broke in and added a zero because I talked to the folks. It didn't make the news, but there was a lot of people that drove my style of truck that all got the same alert at the same time. Somebody deliberately changed it. Never found out who, because a majority of the hacks that go on, nobody reports. You're not required to by law.
Yeah, that's and part of that has to do with the kind of panic that would set in for people because they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's super scary.
You got a modern vehicle like mine. I can get into the radio because the radio is constantly being updated and everything else. It's 2 ways.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they know where you are all the time. If you call OnStar, they know exactly where you are to within a foot. So, that communication allows access to your radio. Your radio has access to the firmware for your entire vehicle on modern vehicles. You can go in, shut off somebody's vehicle, turn off the brakes, open the windows, unlock the doors, turn off or open anything that automatically opens, like a trunk or a door or whatever, without the driver's permission.
Yeah, that's it's wild stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, right now, I've seen it in movies, but it's real. If you're in a modern vehicle and there's a chase, they can have them shut off your vehicle.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish they would do that, but the problem is the precedent that it sets. So it's really scary stuff. Well,
it is.
Why don't we wrap this one and we'll try, if you can, to do it again tomorrow.
I think we should. I'm staying tomorrow evening, so we've got tomorrow is, thank goodness, back to some. Well, no, that won't be normal stuff. The power quality stuff was great. Well, power quality was great. That's pretty exciting stuff. It was a lot of practical folks. The field people that go out and do the field testing. All of the AI crap was unbelievable. Everything, by the way, via from the grid stuff to the way we live, to everything else. According to the professors, according to the academics, AI is going to take care of everything.
Oh yeah. It's
don't mind the errors. Don't mind that it's inaccurate most of the time. Don't mind that it killed me once. But
yeah, we've talked about that. So yeah, get your AI folks and take a big whiff of those unicorn farts because they're real, and magic silver bullets will always save you.
Pixie dust. Yep.
Howard Penrose, thank you for being with me again.
Absolutely, man.
On CMMS Radio. Yeah, you do whatever you want, man. You can do no wrong. Rely squad.
Hey, man, our hero's gone, right?
Yeah. That's for sure. Rest in peace, Ozzy.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.